From Channel 5 New York, this is a Fox News Update.
Good evening. Attend tonight a march for unity, not protest, at City Hall in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Will shopping be different now that Bloomingdale's and A&S are part of one of the biggest bankruptcy filings? The boss, Bruce Springsteen, is starting a family. Stu reviews the new Richard Gere film, Internal Affairs, plus why millions of us couldn't call home this afternoon. The city is shanghaied by the flu. Another of Jane Fonda's kids in trouble with the law. See you at 10. Coming up next, remembering Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
New controversy over whether that Exxon oil spill is really cleaned up.
Bruce Springsteen is going to be a dad.
Jane Fonda's teenage son is in trouble with the law.
See you soon.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
From WNYW Fox Channel 5 in New York, this is the 10 o'clock news with John Rowland and Cora Ann Mahalik.
Good evening. This is a day for looking at history, hoping for the future, and thinking about the man it honors, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That made it an extra special day for New York's first black mayor, and it was also the first time the holiday has fallen on Dr. King's actual birthday. Jeff Weiser reports.
The Martin Luther King Day holiday began in New York City with a march across the Brooklyn Bridge. And the marchers were not angry, but united behind the man in City Hall who represents what so many of these people had fought for over the years.
The world the way it is now, our young black men are dying for this drugs, and we have a black mayor. Maybe he can do something to help us, at least to look up to him.
The Reverend Herbert Daughtry of Brooklyn's Lord Pentecostal Church led this march of about 150 people.
Last time we marched in protest. This time we march to promote unity.
Unity against crime, drugs, racially motivated violence, homelessness. And Daughtry said unity in support of Mayor David Dinkins.
Dr. King would be pleased with the progress that has been made. He would look down and smile and be happy that I have succeeded, that Doug Wilder has succeeded, that Ron Brown has succeeded, that Jesse Jackson has twice run for president of the United States.
In Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, the parents of Yusef Hawkins marched in the street where their son was gunned down in a senseless act of racial violence. In a year marked with racial tension, this murder shocked the city. But it was not solely the black community remembering Martin Luther King. At City Hall Park, a coalition of community leaders from various ethnic backgrounds gathered to remember the man who last visited New York City 1 month before he died in 1968. Comptroller Elizabeth Holzman never forgot the day she heard King proclaim, "I have a dream."
We're here today because he was a drum major for freedom, but we must be drum majors for freedom now.
But the day was not all speeches and slogans. There was a minute of silence for Dr. King at the New York Stock Exchange when the clock struck noon. So as the nation celebrates what would have been Martin Luther King's 61st birthday, black leaders, including David Dinkins, say progress has been made in the civil rights struggle, but much more is needed, and Martin Luther King's dream has still not been fulfilled. From City Hall, Jeff Weiser, Fox News, Channel 5.
Dr. King was born and buried in Atlanta. His widow, Coretta Scott King, visited his grave where there was a wreath-laying ceremony. Later, she spoke at the Ebenezer Baptist Church where King used to preach. She said the uprisings in Eastern Europe follow the same nonviolent philosophy taught by her husband.
The same song of freedom we sang in the streets of Montgomery, Birmingham, Selma, and Little Rock is being sung in cities around the world. The same philosophy, strategy, and tactics of nonviolence that we use to break down the walls of segregation are now being used to tear down the Berlin Wall and the Iron Curtain.
4 states still do not recognize King's birthday as a holiday. They are Arizona, Montana, Idaho, and New Hampshire. John.
Well, this wasn't all celebrations for Mayor Dinkins on this holiday. He also had to handle more questions about how he plans to mop up all that red ink that's about ankle deep at City Hall. And he says he's not afraid of the T word, taxes. Pablo Guzman reports.
As Mayor Dinkins and his team of economic advisors have been trying to explain at news conferences that are beginning to resemble Urban Economics 101, a city has only 3 ways to close a budget deficit: raise taxes, cut services, increase productivity. When Budget Director Philip Michael said on Channel 7 that a raise in homeowners' taxes was an option the Dinkins administration would have to consider to balance the budget, it sent headline writers screaming. because a raise in taxes, particularly property